Just by virtue of our size and our natural resources, and most of all because of the talent of our people, America will remain a world power, and the majority of us will figure out how to get by. But you know, if that's our choice, if we just stand by and do nothing in the face of immense change, understand that the part of our character will be lost. Our founding precept about wide open opportunity, each generation doing better than the last, that'll be a myth, not reality. The position of the middle class will erode further. Inequality will continue to increase. Money's power will distort our politics even more. Social tensions will rise as various groups fight to hold on to what they have or start blaming somebody else for why their position isn't improving. And the fundamental optimism that's always propelled us forward will give way to cynicism or nostalgia. And that's not the vision I have for this country. It's not the vision you have for this country. That's not the America we know. That's not the vision we should be settling for. That's not a vision we should be passing on to our children. I have now run my last campaign. I do not intend to wait until the next campaign or the next president before tackling the issues that matter. I care about one thing and one thing only, and that's how to use every minute the only thing I care about is how to use every minute of the remaining 1,276 days of my term to make this country work for working Americans again. That's all I care about. I don't have another election. Because I'll tell you, Galesburg, that's where I believe America needs to go. I believe that's where the American people want to go. And it may seem hard today, but if we're willing to take a few bold steps, if Washington will just shake off its complacency and set aside the kind of slash and burn partisanship that we've just seen for way too long, if we just make some common sense decisions, our economy will be stronger a year from now. It'll be stronger 5 years from now. It'll be stronger 10 years from now. If we focus on what matters, then more Americans will know the pride of that first paycheck. More Americans will have the satisfaction of flipping the sign to open on their own business. More Americans will have the joy of scratching the height of their kid on that door of their brand new home. And in the end, isn't that what makes us special? It's not the ability to generate incredible wealth for the few. It's our ability to give everybody a chance to pursue their own true measure of happiness. We haven't just wanted success for ourselves. We want it for our neighbors too. That's why when we think about our own communities, we're not a mean people. We're not a selfish people. We're not a people that just looks out for number one. Why should our politics reflect those kinds of values? That's why we don't call it John's dream or Susie's dream or Barack's dream or Pat's dream. We call it the American dream. And that's what makes this country special. The idea that no matter who you are or what you look like or where you come from or who you love, you can make it if you try. That's what we're fighting for. So yes, Congress is tough right now, but that's not going to stop me. We're going to do everything we can wherever we can, with or without Congress, to make things happen. We're going to go on the road and talk to you, and you'll have ideas, and we want to see which ones we can implement. But we're going to focus on this thing that matters. You know, one of America's greatest writers, Carl Sandburg, born right here in Galesburg over a century ago. He saw the railroads bring the world to the prairie, and then the prairie send out its bounty to the world. And he saw the advent of new industries, new technologies, and he watched population shift. He saw fortunes made and lost. And he saw how change could be painful, how a new age could unsettle long-held customs and ways of life. But he had that frontier optimism, and so he saw something more on the horizon. And he wrote, "I speak of new cities and new people. The past is a bucket of ashes. Yesterday is a wind gone down, a sun dropped in the west. There is only an ocean of tomorrows, a sky of tomorrows." Well, America, we've made it through the worst of yesterday's winds. We just have to have the courage to keep moving forward. We've got to set our eyes on the horizon. We will find an ocean of tomorrows. We will find a sky of tomorrows for the American people and for this great country that we love. So thank you, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
The President of the United States ending on an optimistic tone, speaking in Galesburg, Illinois, for the better part of the last hour, talking about something upon which he is clearly very passionate, something on which he ran the last two elections, the economy, and specifically building up, strengthening the middle class. You know, he touted what he has accomplished over the last couple of years, specifically mentioning housing today, talking about Obamacare, which goes into effect this fall, and also perhaps trying to get a jump on the Republicans ahead of some budget fights this fall. Dare I utter the two words we have been familiar with a couple of years ago? Debt ceiling, anyone? We're going to talk to a couple smart voices, Jessica Yellen, Gloria Borger, and Christine Romans. But quickly, before we do a little post-game analysis on the president, as if on cue, here we are, 3 days in a row. Got some royal baby news for you. So we met the little guy yesterday. Here's his picture. He is royal baby George Alexander Louis, His Royal Highness Prince George of Cambridge. We will go to our royal baby all-star team in London momentarily, but back to the president, to our chief White House correspondent, Jessica Yellen, our Gloria Borger, our chief political analyst, and Christine Romans, host of Your Money. Ladies, hello to all of you. And Jessica Yellen, let me begin. You know, we heard the president say, you know, he's run his last campaign, but the vivacity with which he spoke sure sounded like a re-election campaign to me.
Brooke, that is exactly where I was going to start. We're on the same page because what the president is doing here is campaigning for control of his legacy, control of his second term, and control over the terms of the spending fight coming up this fall. You talked about the debt ceiling fight. He was trying to lay out the priorities. He thinks that battle should be waged over not just smaller government, but what matters to the middle class. You heard him say middle class. I counted at least 20 mentions. I counted 26 mentions of the word jobs, but you also heard him lay out long-term priorities that he thinks his leadership should be defined by in the next term about home ownership, secure retirement, education, and health care. A fierce defense of Obamacare there, because that is going to be one of the battlegrounds during the debt ceiling fight and throughout the term, and some pretty sharp broadsides against Republicans who, as you know, continue to frustrate him. And when that happens, he finally goes out to the country and tries to make his case to the American people, and that's what he's doing here now and for the next 5 weeks, Brooke.
Right. I mean, Gloria Borger, Jessica Yellen hit the nail on the head talking about the debt ceiling, right? Sort of anticipating upcoming fights that we could see this fall with Republicans, specifically House Republicans, and maybe using the idea of repealing Obamacare as a brokering chip if they hit a stalemate. How do you see Republicans responding to this?
I think not well. I mean, what the president said is instead of taking these ridiculous votes on repealing Obamacare, he kind of laid down the gauntlet to Republicans and said, show me what you got, okay? You have specific things you want to do that are some good ideas that would help with health care, that would help with the middle class, that would help deal with this inequality of incomes that we've got in this country. You know, show me what you've got. They're going to say it's more the same. They're going to say we've heard this all before. And it's clear what the president was doing was trying to be the kind of adult in the room here, saying to Republicans, okay, I know you're going to oppose me. By the way, Democrats, you may need to readjust a little bit because we're not doing everything right. But I'm the adult. I'm going to get it done. And if I can't get it done in Washington, I'm going to go directly to the American people, which, by the way, is what worked for him in the last campaign.
And when it comes to the American people, Christine Romans, you know, he really also spoke specifically to the middle class. He said, yes, you know, yes, we've had some great optimistic news. For example, when it comes to housing, he cited the numbers out today, but a lot of folks are still underwater. Let me just quote the president specifically saying, you know, we're not done yet. He said the key now is to encourage home ownership that isn't based on bubbles, but is instead based on solid foundation where buyers and lenders play by the same set of rules that are clear, transparent, and fair. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, the housing market is improving, no question. But, you know, first-time home buyers are not really a big part of that. They're 30% of home purchases. You know, it's not really widespread. You've got investors and cash buyers doing great in the housing market. And also today, you know, from the Inspector General who follows the president's, you know, plan to help homeowners, a lot of people are redefaulting. So we still have some trouble in the housing market and needs to be more widespread. He also talked about education, which is so clear. He's there in Galesburg, where there's Carl Sandburg College, a community college, and Knox College, a private liberal arts college. And there is a good example of how it works when somebody can go for a more inexpensive couple of years at community college, transfer to Knox, transfer to Yale, as some of the Carl Sandburg people have, transfer to other colleges, keep their college costs down, do retraining from losing a job at Maytag, trying to find a new place in the economy. That's a spot right there where it works. Doing that on a broader scale, something this White House has tried to push, but we need a lot of work on that. You know, he also talked about early childhood education, incredibly important. That costs money. And he talked about infrastructure. 100,000 bridges in America are so old they qualify for Medicare. Got a big laugh line out of that. But that takes money to do infrastructure spending. So there's political realities. There are good ideas we've heard from before. Good ideas on paper. Will they happen? That's what presidential leadership and compromise with Washington and Congress is all about, and we haven't seen that.
I should mention we'll be talking to Senator Richard Shelby, Alabama, Republicans. We'll be getting his reaction on criticism of the president's speech coming up in a matter of minutes. Ladies, Gloria, Jessica, Christine, thank you all very, very much. We should mention also that this speech is the first of several that the president will be giving through the month of September. But coming up next, after months of speculation, we finally know the name of the royal baby, the Prince of Cambridge. We will take you live to London and ask our royal experts whether it's actually a surprise. How did the bettors do? Office poll, anyone? Stay right here. Since the president's re-election, we have had Sandy Hook and his failed push for gun control. We have had so-called scandals. We've had the push for immigration reform, crises overseas. So you might be asking, where did the economy go as an issue? It's the be-all and end-all, right? Well, I'm here to tell you today, the president is here to tell you, it is back. Just a short time ago, President Obama came out swinging in this first round of a fight that is likely to last until Christmas, the White House calling it a major address on behalf of the America's vast but wavering middle class. Here was the president just last hour in Knox College, Galesburg, Illinois.
When middle-class families have less to spend, guess what? Businesses have fewer consumers. When wealth concentrates at the very top, it can inflate unstable bubbles that threaten the economy. When the rungs on the ladder of opportunity grow farther and farther apart, it undermines the very essence of America. That idea that if you work hard, you can make it here.
So that is the first in a series of speeches about jobs, about wages, education, owning a home, and maybe retiring, the American dream.